What is mediation? Mediation is a structured negotiation facilitated by a neutral third-party professional that helps people going through a divorce come to settlement terms. It is a great alternative for most people compared to going to a trial. And in Washington state, about 90% of divorces end in a settlement agreement, and the majority of those are settled in mediation. Mediation means that you still do all of the work or most of the work that it would take to go to trial because you need to do discovery and exchange information with the other side. You need to work with your attorney to determine what your position is going to be on issues. So like trial, it's often an all day long process when you finally have the day of mediation. And you'll get to say your side of the case and tell your story to the mediator. The mediator is not there to determine truth or to make decisions for you, but rather to facilitate compromise and settlement between the parties so that you both reach a decision you can live with. Mediation in divorce is typically done in what we call a shuttle style, meaning that each spouse sits in a different room or is in a different breakout room on Zoom, and the mediator goes between each rooms so that we can reduce the emotional tension that often divorcing couples are facing when it comes to talking about these really important, impactful issues that they're dealing with to reach a resolution of their divorce. Litigation, when it comes to divorce, means going through the process of exchanging information, taking a position, negotiating, or arguing for your side to win. Litigation means conflict. Litigation means presenting your best case to a judge or a decider of fact who applies the law to the situation. It doesn't leave a whole lot of room for negotiation, for compromise, for acknowledging that the other side may have some reasonable positions that you might agree with if other things worked out. And you often ask for more than you reasonably want because you want to leave room for the judge to often move the decision to somewhere in the middle between where you are and where the other side is. And it often means with litigation that you end up spending a whole lot more time and money fighting about issues, and sometimes the issues aren't really all that important at the end of the day. The cost differences between litigation and mediation can be significant. If you are not able to resolve your divorce in mediation, that means you're going to need to go to trial. And going to trial means paying for lots of time to prepare documents ahead of time to get them ready to present to the court. And for getting your attorney up to speed, they need to prepare arguments, questions, get witnesses lined up, and then there is the time at court itself. And that really can add up and add thousands of dollars to your legal fees if you have to go through litigation all the way through a trial. Most people end up doing some litigation, sometimes partial litigation when it comes to temporary issues, and then resolving their case in mediation. Mediation is typically much less costly than going to trial because it takes less hours of preparation. Now, it's not necessarily going to be low cost or free because there's still preparation that needs to happen for mediation. All of the information needs to be gathered, organized, shared with the other side, and some discussion needs to happen in preparation for the mediation about what you want the outcome to be from your mediation. And then you also are going to need to pay for the mediator's time. They're typically experienced attorneys or retired judges who can command a relatively high hourly fee. And oftentimes that fee is going to be divided between the spouses. And sometimes it can even be reallocated over the course of the mediation if that is what the parties agree to. Sometimes mediation is not an option if there has been domestic violence between the parties. If there's been domestic violence in Washington state, there is not a requirement for mediation in most cases when it comes to divorce and parenting issues. However, if the survivor of the domestic violence agrees that mediation would be productive they can elect to initiate mediation with the other spouse or parent in order to resolve the case. If you have questions about the difference between mediation and litigation, give us a call.